think I'd like politicians, ministers, Secretary of State for Education to recognise the value of early years. There's a lot of rhetoric. They talk about how important the early years are, but then we have lots of conversations about how it allows parents to get back to work. So I'd like them to really be different. We've had enough of the same old, same old. We have at the moment, we're almost in crisis management. We have no strategy, and until we get a vision and a plan, we won't change the current situation. So I'd like them to be different.
I think if I focus on health and wellbeing and obesity, for me, it's about the government understanding and focusing on the early years first and foremost, and using us as a vehicle to mitigate the effects of obesity, because without a doubt we know that the 0 to 5s, this is where we can make the biggest difference. And I think if we can persuade the government and galvanise all of the early years sector, which they are at the moment, to lobby government and fund and support training that will help and support well-being, not just of children, but of families, of communities, and of the staff themselves.
So for the rest of 2022, I really hope the childcare sector will take this opportunity of being in a post-COVID environment to really pull together. We've had the reformation of the early years foundation stage and the documentation that's gone around that. And I think we can all spend some time reflecting on that and making sure that we are applying the best principles to the children that we've got. And I think fundamentally, if we always go back to starting with the child or the children that are in front of us and making sure what we do fits their needs, then we can't go far wrong.
I want us to come out from under the cloud of feeling undervalued, feeling like we're not key people when we obviously are, feeling like everybody else is just ignoring the work that is going on, and just celebrate ourselves. I'd like to see early years just go, do you know what? We are amazing, we've been amazing, we're genuine heroes over COVID and lockdown, and give our children more joy. I think if we can sort of worry less about academic achievement and children catching up, and more about them catching up on some good old-fashioned play and joy, I think that's what we all need to be doing.
Rest of 2022 and beyond, I've got a magic wand and I will invest billions in the sector. You know, I think staffing is an issue, recruitment, retainment at the moment. I just came out of, giving being part of a discussion panel in the seminar, and we've got people saying that they've got colleagues that have left the sector and they've become cleaners because they're earning more, and we're talking about fully qualified, passionate, early years professionals that are leaving because they're not being paid enough. They can't pay the rent. And we could have been having this discussion 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Why isn't it changing? For me, there is a perspective of our workforce that, we do it because we love kids and, we're underqualified, we're not very intelligent, but we've got big hearts. And I think that perspective is so grossly unfair and disrespectful, and I think it urgently needs to change. We can no longer be expected to do, work magic on a shoestring because we love children. But that expectation precedes us, and it's dangerous. And now we are losing fantastic, professionals that would be doing wonderful things for children and their families, but they're not, because finally they've had enough. And I think that needs to change. So investment, resourcing, greater respect and greater representation, not a misrepresentation of what our workforce is about. What we've done, what we've managed and overcome in these last 2 years is just absolutely amazing, awe-inspiring. I think it has to be recognised by the government at last, financially.
I would like for, especially after the pandemic, how much we all stuck together and made sure all those children were back in a childcare setting, even before school children were, even though we can't social distance, we still got sneezed on, coughed on, all bodily fluids all around us. We was on the front line and we still opened, and I just think we got the recognition that we are professional educators and not just babysitters, and then hopefully after that then the money will come in and we can start paying more money to the staff, because they really do deserve it.
I think the reality is lots of teachers are stressed, and so I think the first thing is, how do we support our teachers to be trusted, to feel empowered to make decisions that they know are right for their children? and in doing that, also looking after their own well-being. So yeah, supporting that, because what we know is that if the adults are able to regulate and be able to be present and not worried about all the boxes and all the things like that, then they can really support the young people. So we need to think about that well-being of the teachers, for me, and then of course the little ones, and thinking about what's going on in their lives, and again, how do we support that in terms of their own development, of their own mental well-being.
One of the very positive elements that came out of the pandemic was a greater understanding on the part of parents of the key role that educators play in the supporting the learning and development of their children. And I'd really like to see that engagement, that momentum maintained. There have been too many incidents where the need to drop children off at the gates and then for practitioners to take them into the setting mean that there's been the fracture in many cases of that relationship between the practitioners and the parents. We've got to re-establish that and build on the very positive understanding that parents seem to get about the skilled, dedicated commitment that practitioners do. And that momentum needs to be taken forward and taken to policymakers as well.